Hello, everyone. It's Friday. Time for a little positive quote. Kick us off into our weekend. So let's get into it. Today's quote: "You often meet your fate on the road you take to avoid it." That is by Goldie Hawn, the wonderful actress Goldie Hawn. So I do want to talk about this one. As you can see, well, I put a little note. I'll put a little note. You often meet your fate on the road you take to avoid it, Goldie Hawn. When I read this quote, it's actually from a couple months ago, and I put it aside. I wanted to do a post on it. This philosophical post on it. But I thought of Sean Puffy Combs and all that he's going through. And you often meet your fate on the road you take to avoid it. When you have so much success, there's often a saying that your true self comes out, meaning there are no restrictions as to what you can or will do. So your true self reveals itself. And there's ways that you can decide to use that, what I call opportunity, that's associated with fame, I'll say. It's associated with broad measures of success. I don't believe he chose to use his properly. I believe he continued to be the thug that he always was. Now, this is just my views. Because with that much fame, that much collateral in himself and in his career, that much influence, that much preposition, I'd say, meaning, but, if, then, and, for him, kind of thing. With all of that, he did nothing to change or make progress more significant beyond music, I'll say. Now, that's just a choice, because I once heard an athlete years ago, many athletes, particularly basketball players, that was saying, "I'm not a role model. I'm a basketball player. I just happen to be a professional basketball player. I want to live my life. I want to," and all that. I get that too. But also, the flip side of that is, so now I'm talking cultural. I'm talking African American culture specifically. The opportunities seem to be slithered when they are presented to us. And so when you have a broad measure of that, I say, you have what I call widened weaponry to make progress. I still believe you should do that beyond the field that you're in. Now, these are just my thoughts. This is just my preference in my personhood, in my heritage, in my culture, in my background, in my way of understanding what that signifies. And that he could have done so much more. But what we had learned of late of him these days hurts what he could have done with that leverage, I'd say. Now, people could say this is the industry. The whole industry is that way. There's a world you know nothing about. You know, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah there. People are always doing it. It's all of that. Well, okay. But I'm also saying that when you hear many artists talk about their upbringing and that how the struggle was real, I'll put it that way, I would just think, this is me. I would just think that once I had a broad opportunity to swing that needle in a strong, significant way, all the way to the right, and make that a permanent pasture moving forward, I would do that. I would do that because that's how progress is cemented, not made. There's a difference between progress being made and progress being cemented. That's why forward progress is so important. I love that term. It's a football term, I believe. Forward progress is so important. But I think about him, I think about R. Kelly, I think about Bill Cosby, I think about, now I know this is all Hollywood. These are Hollywood names that I'm mentioning, but what other fame names do we know that we can relate to? I'm sure there's others that perhaps if I mentioned, you would know if I'm talking about that person from the boy in the boy in the Glee Club, or the teacher that you wouldn't know. I'm sorry, it has to be someone famous enough. I don't believe that he used his platform to the betterment of his people, our people. And he showed a dark, ugly side that is monstrative and hurtful. And I've had a post, go back and see my other posts. I don't want to make this long because these philosophical Fridays are supposed to be positive and short. But when I thought about your fate, your whole life is tied to your fate. So fate, destiny, life. Why don't I do a talk on that too? Because there's those dimensions are very important for all of us to at least consider and understand. But the road you take on your fate, you're eventually going to get there because the fate is cemented. But with opportunities, you make the best of the opportunities because the best of you come out. So I don't know, I'm just so deeply disappointed in him. And I don't see that changing because of what I saw in that video. And it's just hard. So this doesn't sound positive. Okay, let's get back to the positive quote. The positive quote is, you often meet your fate on the road you take to avoid it. So make it a good one. Have a positive weekend. I'll see you next time. Let's just listen to some positive music. Maybe that's what we need. Click like, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Bye-bye.